When I saw how straight those lines were, I was like,
he got the ruler out.
That man
I definitely
broke.
Definitely got the math skills out on that one.
Welcome to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan. Danny,
What's up?
give me some of that.
Yeah.
Cole,
high
give me a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. The anticipation is killing us, and so we wanted to go a little bit over the groundwork for what we got cooking behind us with the board. Of the whole point of spooky season for us is, and Cobb, I think, does it all year.
He doesn't miss. He's a
But to spend the month of October not only thinking about horror films, but to watch them and then begin to make a board to decide what's best. And so someone decided to call me right when I went live. Robocaller. But yeah, man. So digging into this is our second time to go into trying to make a spooky season lineup of movies to figure out what is the best there is biases. I remember Jessica Biel took it far into the game last season.
She did. I mean, didn't have to do much. I mean, it's pretty easy, but there's no telling this year though.
That's right.
I think it's still on the docket. So, hey.
So for those of you out here, I've had a couple people write me. It was like, why the hell is Aliens 2 and Terminator 2 on there? Somebody take that one. Why is it?
I mean, it's still spooky.
Yeah,
either way you look at it. I mean, it's not a horror movie, but
Technically, like Alien, Terminator, those are classified as sci-fi horror.
Exactly.
And then, of course, if you separate the two of those, and you have Alien, which Aliens, Predator movies, all those are space horrors. That movie Life with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds in there about the whatever. What is it?
Donnie Darko.
What is that one about Mars? You know, the one I think like Ice Cube is in it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I can't think of it.
I'm not there.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like those are like space horrors, and then you have, your sci-fi thrillers and horrors, which all kind of are encompassed in the horror with everything else, like Jason, Freddy, Scream, ghosts, demons, witches, warlocks, everything else.
In there. I mean, we could have even put RoboCop if we wanted to in there.
Yeah.
But,
Some people are scared of cops.
That they are.
It's pretty terrifying at times, depending on what you got going on. But yeah, definitely.
What and just to like break down some of the classifications, I mean, we have your obvious monster movies, such as, your Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare Before Christmas,
Child's Play, stuff like that.
Even
monster movies.
And I've told y'all time and time again that Jeepers Creepers, that first one, shook me for a long time.
Yeah.
And to go back to a childhood thing for a mile. Do y'all remember the movie Don't Look Under the Bed by Disney?
No.
I do.
I mean, I remember hearing about it.
Dude, that movie, I remember my older brother laughing at me because I was having such a hard time. I couldn't get through it.
I can believe it.
So that was probably like the spookiest thing that Disney had done since Doctor Strange 2.
I have to say, for me, I'm embarrassed to say this because he's kind of a punk, but mine was Leprechaun. Used to scare the crap out of me. Remember when Movie Gallery was right here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, my brothers convinced me. Do you know where the room was? Where where the X-rated films were? They convinced me that Leprechaun was in there, so I stayed away from that door.
Your brothers did you a service.
Yeah, but
The Leprechaun guided this young man from the terrors of porn.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Never know.
That's a tool for parenting for sure.
Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
That's why you always need an older brother.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It teaches you many things.
Make them watch the Leprechaun.
Yeah. Man, this time of the year, I mean, you have fall finally breaking. We're in the South. So, I mean, you have 9 months of summer and 3 months of a little bit of a break. Like with this week that we've been in, where you got this Christmas, the leaves are beginning to change. You got your girls going to get their pumpkin spice lattes, which I think comes from a beaver gland's anus.
Pretty delicious. Pretty delicious.
But what are some things like maybe early childhood? What really takes you back to this time of year? What makes you excited about it?
Let's go with caller number 1.
I mean, just the weather, changing and shit like that, and just having the ability to be outside, not sweat your ass out, and just go out and do some spooky stuff. It's kind of cool. You can go to a pumpkin patch. You can have some coffee and murder somebody. Stuff like that.
Yes. I don't know. Webb kind of cheats. He's living like Halloween like a lot.
Yeah, my house is pretty much decorated like Halloween all the time.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of collections of stuff,
But as we all know, a month of October is like you know what I mean? Like it is the season for it is a month for Halloween. It is the month for horror film and ghosts and ghouls and goblins and all your old stories and stuff like that. Like mine, I mean, it's like same thing every Halloween season or October, whatever. 2 things that have to be done. My bad. 3 things. 1, Dillard's annual Halloween party. Like I have
Sick.
to win. I have to win. Like last year I didn't win. So this year I'm going to win. It is what it is. I was Ron Burgundy last year, and for some reason that just didn't do it. But also like
it's a nice touch. I like that. I like the whole get up.
What we're doing now, horror films. I mean, you're going to watch them all year round, but like this is the month that people really focus on scary stuff, right? So I mean, this is it. So I go and I start watching like, all of the ones that I like the most. Like my number 1 go-to every single year is Sleepy Hollow with
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp. Yeah. Like I always, as a go-to, Tim Burton, one of my favorite this is a month for him.
A true G.
Yeah. And then I guess lastly would be like, like haunted houses, like going to haunted houses like Sloss, Atrox Factory, all the good places in our stomping grounds, like all of us, being all guys from across the state line. I mean, it just, we got a lot of good haunted houses over there. So that's, and this is the time when you go, Yeah,
absolutely, man. I remember, and shout out to the Suddiffs in the Fernbank area. They used to run a haunted house. I'm sure they still do.
Probably.
Fairly successful in our area. And I remember like the flyers going out, was it 2 years ago? And some of the locals was like, what is this? What's going on around here? And I was like, it's actually pretty dope. I used to work it. Have y'all ever worked a haunted house?
No.
Fun.
I bet.
I can imagine.
I bet it would be.
Fun. And you're always on the anticipation of like how bad. Like I would typically go for the girls because like I didn't want to scare the hell out of a dude because I didn't know if we were about to get into an altercation. Dude was about to smoke me.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
Did I tell you, like, one of the best ones that I've been to was put on, and it's nothing big, like Atrox Factory and Sloss. Like, Sloss gets a lot of attention, and I'm not trying to crap on them by any means, but the one year that we went, it was just not that great. But then, but it's got so much attention, and it's so big because Sloss Furnace, before it's a horror
Birmingham, Alabama, by the way.
It's it's actually haunted, right? So but the best one I've ever been to, well, 2 of the best ones, generally in the same area, Tuscaloosa and Northport. They both had these ones that put on by the old they called it the old I've never been there, I don't know, but it was the old Druid City Ford dealership. Don't know what that is, but over there. So
I thought it would have been the old mental health place that got shut down.
I don't think you can get it. I don't even
get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all fence around that thing.
No, they'll come get you very quick. Did that a couple times trying to. Didn't work out.
Do you know, like small, itty bitty nut, didn't have like all the gizmos and gadgets like Atrox or Sloss has. Atrox Factory is probably my favorite, but only for what you get out of it. You get to meet Jeep. The guy we were just talking about it when I went and I did the VIP thing. I did like $100 date night, and I met the guy that played the monster in Jeepers Creepers.
I don't want to ever see that man.
Never.
Well, it was without but he held it up and he was talking to us. He's like, he's talking to us on like a little.
Yeah, I might have punched it.
Yeah. But that he was, But I mean, all those like big time, like a lot of big time horror stars have gone to Atrox and they do. So it's like you pay and like first.
It's like
time.
the cosplay for horror guys.
Yeah, I guess. But then you get, you did like the half mile little haunted tour or whatever. To get the
little celebrities. You can get
Yeah.
Good
Stuff.
stuff.
Well, man, I think we talked a little bit about last time, Danny, when you and Cobb were here, but y'all have quite the tradition of traveling over to Birmingham to go see the Rob Zombie trilogy, and which is actually going to be on the board this year. Last year we had House of a Thousand Corpses, but
runner up.
But now we're getting to the cream of the crop with Devil's Rejects, and so, man, just taking it back to that just for a second. I mean, going over to Birmingham, what theater does that?
It was AMC. It's
Still holding my stock, baby.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that was really awesome. Like I said, it was about 3 years ago, whatever. We got to go see when 3 from Hell come out, and they did the double feature where they did Devil's Rejects and 3 from Hell. Had to go see that. It was just really awesome. And then just a couple of weeks ago that they released the House of a Thousand Corpses 20th anniversary. So I was like, we got to go see it too. We already saw the other 2 in the same theater, so it was kind of cool. But yeah, any chance they play something really awesome or off the wall like that, we usually try to go hit it up.
Let's get into it. So when it comes to horror films, man, we all have our biases and what we prefer. Cole, you brought it up quick. You go to the Johnny Depp with the Sleepy Hollow. And I mean, we have our monsters, we have sci-fi, we got even Scary Movie 2 is on the board. So I mean, we got comedy.
Yeah.
What are some of the go-tos like that you have? Like I know that you're going to be on a Rob Zombie kick.
Oh, pretty much all of them. Yeah, even Lords of Salem. I even throw that one in there too. I know a lot of people really hate on that one, but it was a really cool movie in my opinion. But I mean those, and I'm usually gonna hit your normal, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, of course. Things along that lines. Really like a lot of the paranormal stuff. Anything that's kind of creepy and eerie on that end. So that's usually what I'll.
That's another end of the spectrum that we're in.
Yep, exactly. Got some.
And they travel far, and I mean that's one thing, just firsthand experience. And I've told y'all time and time again that when it comes to that paranormal, man, with exorcisms, and I had a friend of mine I grew up with. We moved down to Mobile together. Shout out to you, JC. But his grandmother's house, and it was in Palmetto, just right down the road from where I grew up. After his grandparents passed, man, like that house to this day stands. And to this day is there is something there, you just when you get on the property, you have like this presence about you, like, and when you go into the house, it's not uncommon. I think we all know the story of like, there's a door being slammed, and you're just like, well, dude, I didn't know there was a door open, or whatever else. And even with the exorcisms, I mean, I've seen these live and in person, and Hollywood really does knock it out of the park. And when it comes to the paranormal things that can't be explained, kind of shakes me a little bit. And so I know those will go far. And so what we have, if you can make it out, is like we kind of got like what you would think with March Madness. And so how are we going to be drawing? And we got sequels. Last year we picked
best of 2000s last year. So anything within, the first 2010.
Yeah.
Anything within that's what we had. So this year we've got sequels and remakes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's a little different than last year, because last year it was just all one thing. So this year we're going to have 2 different things to kind of battle each other. So that'll be pretty interesting. A little something different.
And I'm kind of curious, and like to help people hash this out. Are we going to do like sequels on one side of the board and let the remakes take the other? Like, what's the game? Are we going to let? Because sometimes I don't think it's fair for like a Evil Dead to go against like Strangers 2.
Yeah, I get it. Or the fact that you got sequels is kind of like is an extension of what it was, and of course you've got remakes that are kind of like a cover song. So it's either we're going to do is this sequel better than this remake, or are we going to do these two remakes? Which one did better? These two sequels, which one did better?
Yeah.
And then at the end, we can hit the winner of each one of them, and battle them together. I mean, that is a possibility.
That's
So how are we gonna so what are we going into when we start to kind of I guess measure them against each other? Like, what are some of the things we're looking for?
A lot of things. Just depends on how it makes you feel. I mean, just whether or not it was a good movie or not. I mean, because we've got some that are kind of
some that aren't going to go far,
at all. So.
And also, like, it'll depend. No, it's perfect.
I mean, hey.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of times to where, and that's when we tried to guard ourselves this year, is like, give us a list of movies that you have seen. That way, when we get the so to speak hat ready to draw out of, like, I don't want you to draw something that you haven't seen because you can't defend it.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's going to be 4, maybe 5 of us, and you'll draw one, I'll draw one, and then we duke it out. And then between the 4 of us, we decide who made the better argument. So, like, we're basically being lawyers for these films.
They suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. One that I'm excited to kind of see where it goes, because it's just, I don't know. It was a pretty freaky movie, and that's X. Yeah. And I know, and you like the Rob Zombie films. And I know that was, but that movie.
Oh yeah, that was top 2022. Yeah. That was probably my favorite movie of that year, most definitely. And
it reminds me of what is it? I think it's called The Visit. Have y'all seen The Visit? Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a remake or anything like that, but it's The Visit, and it's about these kids. Their mom drops them off with these 2 random old people who actually end up being escaped from an insane asylum. So, you get the whole it's just this. I don't know. It's weird. It's strange. But I'm excited to see where X goes. I think
have a feeling X is probably going to make it pretty far on the board.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I think it's got a lot of things. When you start thinking about the movies that we all kind of put up there already, going by our list, you can already kind of see some similarities in some of the choices that we've all made. And you can kind of see where the strong suit is.
Yeah, and I mean, I tried to play the field fair nice. Like, Jeepers Creepers 1 was a totally different vibe from the second one, and so I was happy to throw Jeepers Creepers 2 in there. Just because it had that comedy aspect of it. Like, think about the school bus scene to where he was picking who he wanted.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And so I hope it gets drawn, and it may not. And that's another.
We've got more than what's going to be on the board anyway. So just like last year, we had some where we got to kind of go back and we're like, oh, too bad that one didn't get picked. That's just how it goes sometimes. But we're going to have that, and then even. You never know what's going to battle each other too. I mean, there could be one that could go. You would think would go very far and gets dropped off very quick.
Yes, because you might have one that's going up against the Devil's Reject and be like, that movie was balling, but dude,
this one's silly.
It had to go out with Evil Dead.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about Devil's Rejects, and when it comes to Devil's Rejects, House of Thousand Corpses, movies like that, they've got a certain way. It's kind of don't we have, no, Mandy's not on the board, is it? No, but it's just kind of like Mandy, you know what I'm saying? There's certain aspects of the movie you're only going to get from this certain type of horror film. And if you match that against something that's kind of like a generic, like Conjuring 2, for example, you're not going to get the same, and so, I think we'll see if The Hills Have Eyes. I think the first Hills Have Eyes, I think is going to do something.
Glad it got on the board.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I think that's going to be one of those that I'm talking about, where it's oh, here comes this kid off the block. What's he going to do? And then,
Yeah. And I mean, how far is it going to go? I mean, as you see, as the bracket goes, there's some chaos because there are buys given throughout. And that was one thing that we learned on the fly last time, Cole, was sometimes you'll draw a movie and the other guy will draw one and be like, we're going to give that one a buy.
Yeah.
We're going to do some mulligans.
It ain't fair.
Yeah.
We'll throw that back in the bucket. You never know. It might get drawn again. And then at the end, we'll whatever we have left, we'll kind of go back and reminisce and whatnot. So that will.
I mean, and you always get the opportunity to like whatever time of your life you were in when you saw these movies. Now, a lot of these like we were adults to see, and maybe they were just really exciting to see. Like, man, like a lot of these horror films now, like Insidious 2 has the possibility of coming on the board,
It's in there.
and not a bad film. And that's one of those type of films that really make you think. And when it's over, it almost feels like Insidious is in the room with you for a while. So, and who knows how that's going to hit between the 4 or 5 of us and be like, will everybody go boo or be like, pass, move it on, you know?
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on the night.
Yeah, depends on how you feel that night, really.
And also, like another reason, like doing the live, and I know there's nobody there now. Somebody was.
We had one.
You're like, oh, never mind.
But we hope to be live that night, and so like even the audience can kind of change the tide.
Yeah. Yeah, that one person was like the one kid that pooped in high school, right? He realized he was the only one pooping in the bathroom and he left.
Like, oh,
Yeah, he's
Didn't even wipe.
Yeah, just oh god. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Nah, man. I think that's what I was telling you guys earlier. I think like what's gonna end up happening is like it may not be this year, but I think like next year, like we end up having to do like more than one of these, just because there's so many, like we explained in the first part, there's so many different styles of horror, and like it's not even horror, but like if you talk about the month of October, spooky season, there's stories out there that we talk about. Like for example, there are ghost stories that are not even you wouldn't tell during this time of year. You tell it at Christmas because right. So there's movies that portray those stories and stuff like that, and so there are things that are portrayed in film that are like horror related.
We did talk about that last year about doing a Christmas themed version.
You have like a
Christmas
Krampus.
Krampus and
Christmas,
and
okay,
Black Christmas, stuff like that. But yeah, it's possible. And hell, even in the middle of the year or whatever, we could do a comedy run. I mean,
why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Why not? I mean, it's fun one way or the other.
Oh yeah, it's fun to get out with the boys and like just to throw a bunch of movies in the hats and just see what comes out. Like a comedy one.
Oh yeah,
that would be sick.
Yeah.
And I think it would be tooth and nail. And I think like you get a Step Brothers or even Talladega Nights and like how do you rate a comedy? Well, the memorable ones are the ones that we still quote to this day. So is it even fair?
Yeah.
You're gonna know.
I've been drinking green tea all day. I mean, we got hot rod coming in here. And so, man, and like on top of that, I think it's fun for people listening to be like, man, that does take me back to that, you know.
Might be some things on this board coming up you either haven't heard of or haven't watched in forever. So just some things how it goes.
That's another interesting thing is I think we've kind of hit the deadline for throwing movies in, but let's say I drew a movie that you wanted and you and I are going against each other, but I drew the movie that you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And let's say like the movie that you got, you really don't care about. So there's something else, but thank goodness, there's other people that can kind of step in and be like, wait a minute.
Well, I think what'll be interesting too is just kind of see like some of the listener feedback and like, not right this minute, but like when we do, the actual going through the whole deal, maybe there's somebody out there that's paying attention, that's keeping up, and they've got, they see what's on the board and they're like, oh, so it'd be interesting to see what the feedback is from people that are listening.
And that's what we want. And like, that's why I wanted to start. And I was glad that you called this episode today. And like we did the one last week with me, you and Cobb, is let's get people used to be like, hey, yeah, we are going to go live and we are going to create this experience that you can be a part of. And you will have a say. Like if I see you chime in on the chat, yeah, like
just anybody.
Yeah, you are just as valid as any of us sitting here. It opens that room up to you.
It could be any one of you. Anybody.
Any of you.
Anyone can be important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you could have your stake of claim. I've always wanted to be on Porch Talk. Well, here you are.
I think I should be on a podcast. Well, there, Mr. Guy.
Let your voice be heard.
Yeah.
Or read. Either way you look at it.
We'll read it for you.
Yeah.
It's always kind of it's hard for me to ask like Webb or Cobb because like I don't like I've watched quite a few films with them.
Oh,
What?
we had one, then they disappeared.
Quit calling attention to it.
We-
We have hundreds
Yes.
Yeah.
At least.
oh, dude.
in the distance, but like it's hard for me like to like talk to Danny or Cobb about it because like Cobb eats horror films for breakfast.
Yep.
And like I don't think that anything kind of moves him or disturbs him, and I kind of feel the same way about you, Webb, is to where like it's almost like you've seen it all, and then some people are like really obtuse to it, to where maybe they grew up in like a Christian home, and like maybe the horror films were, kind of like bad, taboo, and so I mean you kind of see that too, and I'm already seeing the posts like a lot of people in the Christian communities like be careful with what you partake in this season. I'm not going to say one thing or the other about that. You do you, boo boo, but like, man, like has there been like movies that just really shook you that you still kind of you really don't feel like you can revisit?
I can usually revisit it. I guess the most recent one I watched that I guess really shook me or whatever, I guess was Hereditary. That was that kind of
Was that A24?
don't believe don't quote me on that though. I can't remember. I really can't remember on that one if it was or not, but yeah,
The same guy that did that was the same director of the guy who filmed I'm blanking on the name, but the trip in 2 Ways to Sweden. What's to where they had the big, and like if the first time you watch it you're not paying attention, it's such a trippy movie, but you can kind of see how everything's going to play out by the art on the wall, to where they had the elders jumping off the cliff.
Midsummer. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Same
dude,
director.
People, yeah.
So
yeah.
I keep seeing that, and I've never watched it. I think
Give it a shot.
Worth a whirl.
Yeah,
give it a shot.
It's that one kind of was a little unsettling too. Usually cult movies like kind of do unsettle me a little bit.
And that's a genre too. And like, did any cult movies make it to the board?
I think maybe no.
And so maybe we need to address that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you really dig into it, so we've got The Hills Have Eyes is on there, and that's not necessarily cult, but more inbred.
It's incest.
But what's the other one? Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turn. Yeah, that one kind of turned into a cult.
And that one's very culty,
yeah.
especially now.
Yeah, the newest one. Yeah.
And then you have like my favorite genre of films, which is like they're campy, with Strangers. We have Strangers 2 on the board.
Yep.
And anything like it had a great like 80s montage. It had like a 80s vibe to it. I'll never forget the swimming pool scene.
Yeah.
And like some of those films are just so iconic for that. And I think like the older I get, like the horror genre is really like opening itself up to me to like being incredibly memorable, because I don't think we have comedies. Like, when's the last good comedy that you just really blew your socks off and you're quoting? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I mean, all the ones that I quote are like have been out for
forever.
Yeah, your Step Brothers or whatever else. But then but I replay horror films in my mind.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think for all of us, honestly, I think that there's not a day that goes by in your life where like you see something, not that it's scary, but you just see something that reminds you of a horror film, something, right? I know may not seem that way, but like, because there's just so many, like I said, the vastness of like horror films and like all your directors, like that's, me and you talk about that. We should do that. Directors, like a versus directors, like
Eli Roth versus
Wes Craven,
Rob Zombie.
Exactly.
Tim Burton has had his run with it.
Yeah.
Definitely. We could go many different directions with it.
And then like think about like some of these B movies. I would like to maybe a smaller bracket, but I won't I cannot think of the name of it for the life of me, but Cobb showed me this movie. It was like a COVID horror film. And it like call it a B film, it's not even a B. It's like they had no budget.
I think I was independent film. That's what I was thinking of
Yeah.
earlier. Independent film.
Yeah. And shout out to those guys for
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
And that would be something that I would like. And I've talked to some of the videographers here in town that I'm friends with. They've helped me with projects in the past, like with recording a Porch Fest or some music projects that I'm into. But I was like, wouldn't it be fun if we did like a 30, 45-minute horror film? We could just totally script it and just we'll cast people and from here and just see what happens.
We should totally.
And what are some of the greatest things? Like you think about like the Saw movies. Did that even hit the board? Did Saw 2 even get on the board?
It did not.
Mm-mm.
It did not.
I mean, that's not my style, but like when you think like Texas Chainsaw, the OG, or you go back to those early days of what made some things horrifying was leaving it up to your imagination. They didn't exactly show what happened. They just showed you the aftermath.
Mhm.
And they left it up for you to depict on how bad it was. And
Yeah.
then you have like a terrifier who has just been taking the world by storm.
Yeah, over the top. Over the top. Yeah. Terrifier is definitely, I think that's going to be a strong contender.
Terrifier 2 will go far. Have you
Yes.
checked out Art the Clown yet?
Yeah, no.
Oh, jeez.
We got to do that, bud.
Yeah.
We got to do that.
Yeah, that was a must.
And like not to spoil anything, but like the most creepy thing about it, and I think it's the same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Leatherface, same thing with Jason, and vice versa. It's funny that Freddy does it. Is Freddy talks crap to people?
Mhm.
The thing about Art, Jason, Michael Myers,
None of them say a word.
that mystery never says a word,
Yeah.
and like they have a mask on, so you can't see their emotion, and it's like that in and of itself is possibly the worst because you don't know what's going on behind those wheels.
Don't look now, but we got 2 viewers.
Hey, Mom. But yeah, I mean, like just to go to your monsters, like if you had to pick out, and they're all on here, we might
Yeah.
draw Michael Myers out. We may draw Jason. We may draw Freddy. Like who were your favorites? Did y'all mess with Freddy versus Jason? Like I did it to laugh.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
more-
I think
more
we
fun
all
than
had to
anything.
check that out. That's at one point.
So I mean, who's your fave? Out of the
2?
well, I mean,
Oh, out of all of them?
throw Leatherface in there
Michael
if you like.
Myers, 100%.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger's always been mine.
Yeah.
He's the one that always stuck out to me. Just 'cause he was Freddy. I mean, who wants some razor knife fingers? I mean, come on now.
My first, the first time I was introduced to him was Freddy versus Jason,
Oh yeah.
and then like after like I watched that with my dad, and then after that, and I was like, I don't understand this guy's get up, and he was like, you never saw a Nightmare on Elm Street, and he's like, oh, after this, we're watching that.
Yeah.
Watch it all.
So-
I'm gonna go 3's my favorite. That's what I got.
I mean, you got the shirt on, so 3 is the one for you.
Yeah, that's my go-to. Yeah.
See, I've watched 1, I think, the first one, and I think that was like that is one that I've never really. I've done all the Halloweens; they're all enjoyable, even the remakes, which might possibly get pulled. Halloween remake, Halloween 2, probably going to be on the board.
What about you?
Dude, I was a big fan of Jason.
Yeah. Because he went to space.
Jason X Boy.
Dude, yeah. No, dude, I think it was because like it was the first one that I was exposed to.
Yeah.
And it just it feels kind of campy because you're at Camp Crystal Lake. And I mean the first one, like, and even the second one, like, is it him or is it his mother?
Dude, he's canon in every single like camp film. It don't matter if it's a horror or not. He is always canon in those films.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It could be like a teenage camp film, like, and that is gonna be canon somewhere in the film.
And so, like, and the irrational thing about that was like, and I guess like for like mind boggling you is like, well, you don't have to worry about Jason because you're not at Camp Crystal Lake. You don't have to worry about Michael Myers. You're not on Elm, or you're not on where was he abiding at? Not Elm Street.
No, I wouldn't Elm Street.
That was Freddy. Freddy is like, don't go to sleep.
Yeah, you don't matter what street you
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
You about to
You
get
never
dream
know.
raped.
Yeah.
Just don't give up on your dreams.
Yeah. Yes, a callback to the image that you cannot see. But yeah, like with those 3 monsters, it always felt like yeah, you could kind of take yourself out of it. But like, was there ever a movie to where like you kind of maybe even a young, it was like, oh man, I'm going through the ringer on this.
You know what I'm curious about? Like, I think the most, like, when we're talking about these, like, original three, like, Jason, a little bit, Freddy, a lot, Michael, más o menos. But, like, you got to think, like, those three characters, they've made it through multiple sequels, right? Like,
Don't leave out Leatherface, bub.
oh, I know that, and him too. And then like, you know, when we joked about Jason. Jason went to freaking space, and then he came back, and it's like, bruh, like, what truly? Like, my question is,
Shout out to Ghostface Killer.
yeah,
How about that?
Yeah.
He's doing it.
Yeah, right. Like, what? Tell me, I'm curious. What is supernatural that's making them that way they are? Like, I know that. Like, Jason's got like this weird thing. He's obviously possessed.
He was a freak.
He was like, his mom is like there on his shoulder.
Yeah,
Freddy, we know, he's in this dream realm. Like, he's a supernatural being.
He's
Like,
just
we
a
know that.
thing of nightmares.
Michael Myers. Well, there's many variants of Michael Myers. We have the, you know,
What was your favorite iteration? I like the Rob. I don't mind the Rob Zombie.
I like, dude, because you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me like of Kane or Big Show. Wait, that was,
It was.
duh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was him.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, you put this big, like, just psycho killer. I mean, dude, you think about it. Think about all the people you went to high school with that were like that. That could literally just had this. I don't want to say the.
We
R
had
word.
this cat in high school. He wasn't like big and scary or anything. He was just like, and you know how it was at like South Lamar, Danny. You can imagine it, Cole. But South Lamar wasn't a very big place, and we had this cat. He was in our grade for a time, and Mr. Thompson, shout out to you, buddy. Happy birthday in heaven if you passed. But you was always sick, dude. But man, we had this one cat. I'm not gonna call him out, but he was just a little weird. And man, everybody would just give him hell. And yeah, I never really gave him hell. But I was on like the outskirt of. I was friends with the people that would,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't stop it, so I was definitely guilty.
yeah.
Because
You would have been shot.
yeah. And I remember one time in Mr. T's class, science, and they took some Axe body spray, and he would always wear these leather jackets. It didn't matter what temperature it was. They doused him down in Axe while he had his head down, sleeping on his desk. And then here come a lighter. And like, not only did like the Axe spray coming out of the can compress, but everything that was on that jacket ignited. He spent the rest of that school year in classrooms by himself. And so that's what I think about with like a Michael Myers. It's like, did we just create a psychopath?
Yeah, for sure,
Just
dude.
created a
Yeah,
monster, man.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
And like when you think about a Michael Myers or like someone like Jason was disfigured, he had a funky head. And so like I do think about like child upbringing and like just society just being unnaturally cruel to you is that has a lot to do with it. I mean, that true crime, when you think about a serial killer, I mean, there was always something off. I mean, you had the three things, right? You're pissing the bed, you're a pyromaniac, and you're mean to animals.
yeah.
You do it. Telltale signs right there. All day.
if you watch him,
Yeah.
yeah,
Be careful around here.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
And be friends.
If any of my brothers are listening, yeah, you remember what y'all did to all them kittens I had, and you used to call me the crazy one.
Do you have something you need to confess?
But
But like
crazy.
and not to spoil too much if you haven't seen it, but like Ghostface Killer Scream. I know what you did last summer. I always enjoyed those. They were a lot of fun. But the new one, the one in New York, the remake,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. A
Haven't
lot
still
of
got
fun.
to see it yet, though. Yeah.
Dude, please.
One that I
please
was
take the time to do that.
one that I was like telling you about, and it is like that, and it was, you know, a slasher film, but it was called Cry Wolf, and I remember watching it in Columbus, Malcolm Theaters, Cry Wolf,
I've never even heard of that.
and it's another slasher film. You know what? It's a dude in a big like old tricolor BDU like army jacket and an orange balaclava with a big old hunting knife.
Another guy who got picked on in high school.
Yeah, but dude, I'm telling you, like that, it had all the same kind of flair that Scream did, or and yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, I wish it would have continued, but it didn't. It's kind of like I Know What You Did Last Summer. They did it again. Well, I don't think they only had 3 of those, maybe 2.
Something
Two. I
like
Know What You
that.
Did Last Summer, and then I Know What You Did the summer before that.
Yeah,
Whatever. Yeah.
still
I know what you did 2 summers ago.
Yeah. I know what you did.
You whore.
Last spring before summer. Yeah.
And I know what you did in the winter.
Yeah. So they Scream kind of like took the name and all that.
Yeah.
But even that's the thing about Scream though. Even Scream was canon in Scream. So like in the first couple Scream films, they had what was the movie that they had?
Like Stab.
Yeah, Stab,
Yeah.
Stab 1, Stab 2. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 3, it was almost pretty much turned a parody into itself, but
Yeah.
it was, it was still good though.
And the thing about what that that's what in the commercials.
yeah.
Oh man, that's so good. And like that slasher genre was always pretty dope to me. Like once you saw it once, it was ruined forever. But there was never any second guess about like how a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or anything of that was going to go. You knew the antagonist, and you knew that he was going to get his way.
Yeah.
But with Scream, you spent half your time like, thriller, slasher, on the edge of your seat. But at the same time, like you didn't really know who it was, and you were trying to figure out who it was.
Yeah.
And that was an element that I thought was great.
Yeah.
And that's what I think made it successful.
Yeah, it definitely was. Made its rounds. And still making them.
And then I guess like back to the culty thing is like I would say like Rob Zombie's Devil's Reject was kind of culty.
Kind of, yeah,
And as the story progressed, like you didn't really know what was going to go on. I mean, think about like what was the third one? What was it called?
3 from Hell.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that one was wild. That was.
And you didn't know the direction it was going to go, and so it kind of and that was one thing about movies is like you don't want to be able to just like know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always felt like Michael Myers or Jason or even Freddy, you kind of you kind of knew like, yeah, the protagonist or the victim might get away a time or two, but they were going to get theirs, and usually it was going to be while they were having sex.
Some of these movies, I guess, like some of these remakes, not so much the sequels, but the remakes. I know that me personally, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it because, like the Poltergeist remake,
Yep.
I do not remember it.
Yeah, I actually just watched that one recently again. But yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. I mean, there's going to be some of these remakes that probably some of y'all might have even seen the originals, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I did put a little twist on all the remakes though. On the list on the back of them, I do have the year that the first one come out and then the year that the remake comes out.
Good for you, dude. Good job.
Good job put on that in there just to have, because some people were like, wait a minute, is that really a remake? Well, yeah, that's we got all that, kind of did the research on all that, so that'll be some extra talking points anyway.
And that'll be fun. And so we're practically 10 days away from the big show. It's going to be Sunday night on the 29th. And we're going to take care of that. And so, man, that I guess that's the one thing that we need to get going in the group chat. And those listening, watching, whatever is, if you want to get involved, let us know on the socials and be like, hey, did you think about this? There is still time for yours to get into the mix. And so I'd love to know what you think. And man, like we talked a little bit about paranormal. We talked about the slashers. We talked about those who just reign supreme when you think about horror, with the big 3 with Michael, Freddy, and Jason. Like, what else is coming to mind?
I don't know. I mean, have we? I mean, my question is like, I know we haven't, but what have we not covered? Like, what is something that we just truly just haven't like discussed that is not even on the board? We haven't brought it up, but it's just like there.
my mind would go to like a scary story to tell in the dark, and to where like you would have like the Twilight,
Yeah. Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
of and that kind of thing. I don't think we have a good vampire representation.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say your original.
I don't think we have zombie.
Frankenstein
We have
Wolfman,
Zombieland
Mr.
2 is
yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have that.
Yeah. And
So-
28 weeks later. Too.
So we have those, which I think are going to do great. But like, I'm glad you've done
Yeah.
that. So what? So we
Yeah.
didn't think about our when we go to monsters,
Yeah.
vampires.
Creature of the Black
Zombies.
Lagoon.
Yeah.
We don't have any of the classics, I guess you can say.
Which is
werewolf, all that kind of stuff. So
we
yeah.
just watched the Voyage of the Demeter. Yeah, we just watched that.
Good film.
Yeah, and I mean that just puts a whole.
You checked it out yet,
spin.
Danny?
I'm not.
Brand new spin on like vampires.
Yeah, I mean it's not like what you. And that's another thing when we talk about like those originals,
Mhm.
like your Dracula, your Swamp Man,
Yeah.
your Creature of the Black
Got the
Lagoon, your
Mummy.
Werewolf, the Mummy, all
Yeah.
of those. Yeah, we didn't even touch like the main.
You haven't gotten into those. And then you got another spectrum that you can also go into as well. That I mean, just the lighter side of Halloween, I guess you can say, like Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, Night Before Christmas, stuff like
Absolute
that. So, yeah.
dog shit.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But still have that availability.
Yeah, I do like that, but I think we all feel the same way
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
we do. We definitely do.
Which one is that?
Like Hocus Pocus, like the
Oh,
the
like
lighter.
Yeah, the lighter,
Yeah.
lighter side
Yeah.
of Halloween. I guess
Yeah,
you can
but
say.
then I was gonna. That's what I was kind of getting into, like when I said something earlier about like your core line. Like I'm gonna be honest, for a kids movie, for animation, that's kind of a messed up movie.
It
I mean,
is.
it really is. But then then you got to throw in like
Bambi.
not a horror film, but maybe it is.
Well, now they do have the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, and
So I have that. I've never watched it.
The sequel is coming out,
yeah,
and
What?
they're throwing Tigger in.
yeah.
Oh snap!
Now, granted, like I will tell you, like it's fun to watch. And background on those who don't know is like, so the copyright for it's just like music. It becomes fair play. For like an old blues song, and everybody begins to cover it and put it out. Well, think of like a Mickey Mouse and Disney. Well, whoever owned Winnie the Pooh did not they didn't re-up
Renew it
on the
yeah.
patent, so to speak, on Winnie the Pooh. And so these guys picked it up, and it's like, we're going to do a low budget horror. And let's just say Winnie the Pooh and Piglet was not very happy with Christopher Robbins.
No.
I've heard rumors that they're going to be doing a Grinch horror movie too.
Why not?
I
You might as
I
well.
think that would work. I see that working better than Winnie the Pooh anyway.
I don't know if Jim Carrey, like, I don't know if anybody will ever, if
Yeah.
they'll ever top that.
Probably not. No, by any means. But
Yeah, but honestly, though, like think about it. If you could talk to the man who wrote the books, Dr. Seuss, was the Grinch character, if you were to inverse yourself in the mind of a Who, was he supposed to be thought of like that? And my guess is yes, because like in the Jim Carrey's Grinch, you see where like the two like the two guys are going up the mountain with the girls or whatever, and like the Jim Grinch uses like this big animatronic, whatever, like machine to scare the crap out of them, like boom. And then there is the old animated film, the Grinch, and then the Grinch Stole Christmas. If you watch the Grinch, it's trippy. It's trippy. It's meant to be kind of a little unsettling, I guess you'd say. So my thing is like, I know that we're sitting here saying like, oh, like kid, blah, 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 blah. But when you actually the meaning of the film, like what it was meant, for the attention, I guess it was meant to get. Like, how far can a creator go with that?
Well, you could go any direction you want, but with what they were doing, it was like, what happened when little Lulu finally connected with him? His heart grew 3 sizes, just like he had the COVID shots.
Except for this year, it explodes.
Yes. But yeah, dude, I totally see the direction that you're going in. Like giving someone that creative freedom and that reign, like it is fun to see like something as wholesome as Winnie the Pooh, and then just to make it a horror fest.
Yeah, that is wild. It reminds me of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that reminds me, once again, movie gallery was over there. I remember seeing a Frosty the Snowman like horror film. Like Frosty
Jack
came
Frost.
back. Yeah.
Jack
Frosty came back to life.
Not the Michael Keaton one. There was another Jack Frost.
Yeah,
There was-
no.
there was another pretty
One-
horrifying one.
One that's kind of, I guess you'd say, kind of cheesy, and I'm not talking about Scary Movie, but one that's on the more that's kind of cheesy that I love. I can watch that thing back to back. I could watch it for days. It's House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's gonna be a fan favorite. I
Yeah.
think like what we're gonna
Mhm.
find is it's gonna go far just because it's beloved.
Just because, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I think like last year, Jessica Biel's Texas Chainsaw, the remake, which is back on the board again. It will go far just because
Just 'cause
of
she was hot.
just because she was hot.
That's all it
Jessica
took.
Biel. All right.
We did a moment of silence for her.
We did do
Yeah,
that.
everyone was like, Jessica.
We did do that,
Mm.
and it was great.
Yeah.
Like not a pin dropped, but I felt something in my pants.
Yeah. Another moment of silence was
Yes.
just yeah.
Very awkward. Oh my gosh. Oh man. I guess just to go back to board, just to reiterate one more time. So you have your brackets. We're going to be drawing these movies out of a hat,
Maybe a popcorn bucket. If I can find one out
whatever
there.
else, and like they'll be matched 2 by 2. And so I draw one, Danny draws one, and then we will give our argument on why this movie should move on into the next round, so to speak, of what is the best horror film. And then those who are left over be like, no, you didn't get it right. And then we'll have a little round robin and we'll move on.
We'll do like a slow song, like another day is gone, and we'll do like honorable mentions.
Oh, yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that.
Turn around. Yeah. And so that is how it's gonna be. We got this great easel that's missing pieces. And that is gonna be our second annual Halloween movie competition, horror movie competition. If you want to be involved, you can hop on to the YouTube on the 29th. I think we're going to set it the time at probably 7 or 8 Central Standard.
Sounds like a good round time. Yeah.
And we'll go from there. Guys, anything else to do?
No, I think we beat the horse until it died, and in the spirit of this podcast, came back to life and then died again.
Thank you, Sleepy Hollow.
No.
We have a headless horse now.
Yeah.
Natalie Holloway, she finally can rest in peace. Her family has closure. Vandersloot, he finally confessed to everything that happened on the true crime side of things. If you're a little stinker like I am, you're well aware of Vandersloot and things that happened in Aruba. It's a story that I hold dear to my heart because that happened. She was around the same age as me. And she was from the Mountain Brook area in Birmingham, around Hoover, Birmingham area. And I remember watching that whole story break down, and I was like, that sucks. And so, like, we finally have some closure. And, I mean, God only knows, like, the next time a dog was going to pull a skull out of a creek bed. And, like, here we go again. So we might even throw some true crime at you, if not on this, maybe in the future. We're hoping to do more live videos. We're hoping to do more things like this. So thank you for tagging along and being a part of this. Guys, anything else you'd like to add or subtract before we go?
Just looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Whoever
It'll be
that
a fun one.
Whoever that one person is, you're a gem.
I hope it's my mom.
Thanks for hanging in there.
I love you. Thanks, guys.
Peace.